Hello and welcome to CSES Tech Talks. Today I'm joined by Pranav Reddy Bussannagari. So, Pranav, who are you?
Hi, I am Pranav Reddy Bussannagari, and I'm a third year CS student right here at UCSD with a minor in cognitive science. And in relation to CSES, I'm the president of Dev, so I handle all the executive operations for the Dev subcommunity, which is one of the three subcommunities we have here at CSES. And I maintain communication between the general team and my own board at CSES Dev, and I plan the initiatives for the Dev team to undertake and help wherever's needed.
So, what is CSES Dev?
Yeah, it's a good question. CSES Dev is a sub-community under CSES. I mentioned before there's three. There's Innovate, Open Source, and the third one is us, Dev. And we are, I don't want to toot our horn too much, but we are the premier client-based web dev organization at UCSD. So we build client-facing projects. They're always due at the end of the year. And we recruit developers right here from UCSD and have clients ranging from startups and research labs around UCSD all the way to Google affiliated projects.
So, you kind of mentioned it there, but what are some like past projects, if you want to go into detail? What are some past projects that Dev has worked on?
Yeah, for sure. One project that we worked on that I'm really proud of last year was WebClicker++, which is a class response system. First, I want to ask, are you familiar with WebClicker by any chance?
Hmm.
Okay,
Yes,
perfect.
definitely.
I don't know about your experience with it, but in my experience, it's usable. It's there, but like all the features it has are just not enough for me. Just clunky to use, and I can't even imagine from the teacher's perspective. This is why a professor from UCSD actually, Gerald Susairaj, people from the CSE community definitely know him. He's a legend, but he gave us a project called WebClear++, where he wanted to improve the UI and the usage of the existing WebClicker app, but also introduce things like different styles of questions that you can ask, easier ways to graphically represent how your students are responding, and easier ways to switch between classes, just to name a few really features that we had. And the exciting thing about WebClicker++ is that you can see being used right here at UCSD's introductory CS courses actually from CSE 6R and CSE 8A, and then also in the Summer Engineering Institute, with hopefully more to come in the following years as well.
Are there any other past projects that Dev has worked on you want to go into detail about?
Yeah, another project that we worked on, I was actually a part of this, that I'm really excited to talk about is the Paisani MBX website. Have you heard of the Have you heard of the Paisani Research Lab here?
No, I have not.
Okay, yeah. The Paisani Research Lab is a lab here at UCSD that's focused on computational chemistry. And MBX is like their flagship C++ program, which is a computational chemistry program that provides an interface for molecular dynamics and drivers and helps them visualize molecules a bit better. And for that, we built a website that goes into depth about what it is, how you can use it, a tutorial in case you want to use it, links you can download, an entire list of updates, and a whole lot more. Just everything to get you prepped to use the tool. And I have one more project I want to talk about from last year, which is LHAC, or the Lakewood Heating and Air Conditioning um, revamp. So for this project, we had a startup reach out to us from around the southern LA area. They were based there, and um, this company has been around for a long time, and they needed something to reinvigorate their digital presence, essentially. And what we decided to do was revamp their entire website right now, to make it a bit more dynamic and try to make it a bit more appealing in the modern digital world. So some things we did was adding an admin system for tiered access. So you're either an admin or you're not, and that changes if you have access to certain pages. Added a review system where we show the reviews that they have and connect it to their database. So it's real reviews that are showing up. But we also made sure that usually the good reviews show up better as well because that's what a website needs to do. And also We've just upgraded their UI so that it looks on par with the current website. But yeah, those are some of the projects from last year that I'm really, really that I was really, really proud of.
Great. So with those being, the last year's projects, what are the projects that you're looking forward to this year?
We have three projects, and frankly, they're all extremely interesting to me, and I'm really excited to talk about them. The first that I want to go into is the Big Strategy Labs platform that was given to us by the global head of AI strategy at Google, Sharad Agarwal, who's also our advisor. And it aims to build a platform for the initiative started by Sharad called Big Strategy Labs, where you have clients and students. So the students can do anything that they need, that they can't get from their own like surrounding community, including posting about projects that they've worked on that they're proud of, posting about their research, learning about opportunities, and what is and reading about what is more like important in the tech field right now. While clients can choose among these extremely interested and extremely talented students and provide them with specific opportunities like jobs or internships because they are already choosing from a limited talent pool that they know to be first class. And we're helping realize that by building a platform that helps showcase and be smooth in all of these dealings. And the next project I want to talk about is the lab inventory management system. This was a project proposed to us by multiple labs, multiple cognitive science labs at UCSD. And I'm not sure if you're, or the people that are listening, if you're a part of a lab right now, but the problem with a lot of labs, especially ones that participate in hardware, is that there's usually a lot of shortages. You're using a lot of the same items, but you tend to run out and you have to buy in bulk. And buying in bulk, especially if you had to use it a lot for 1 year, but then won't have to for the next year, is just not feasible and not very cost friendly, especially with the funding cuts that are coming across the country. But to fix that, the professors came to us with a project where we have to build a lab management system that helps both avoid wastage and also um, give avoid shortage. So if a lab has a shortage, we want to set up an alarm system that tells them, hey, you're running low on this resource. You can either order it or B, the more interesting part, which is that this other lab at UCSD that we're affiliated with that's also on this website can provide you with these resources for a reduced cost or for free because they're in a surplus right now actually instead. So if you need like beakers or like BCIs or electrodes or something, they can transfer that to you at a much reduced cost or no cost, um, while also making sure that they're not running past the expiration date or just having them sit in the storage center. And then finally, we also want to provide support for uploading your inventory so it can be as easy as possible for labs to just enter their information and then start tracking their inventory. Lastly, I want to talk about the Runway Avenue Launchpad. This is a launchpad for Runway Avenue. And what is Runway? It is a startup based in the Bay Area and is a fashion recommender system and retail clothing platform. All you need to do, like a quick tangent on Runway, they're amazing people. And it's a really cool project where they just upload your clothes and then you can get recommendations they can swipe through, kind of like Tinder, but for your clothes. It's just mind blowing to me. And it gives you outfits based on like your closet or from vendors that exist on Runway. And yeah, CTO Prashant Mehta is very passionate about DevOps. So, and he's also very fully involved with Runway's full stack. So if anybody has questions, you can contact him and I'm sure he'd love to help out. But yeah, essentially, Runway Avenue, we're building a launchpad that helps them showcase these amazing projects in a new digital landscape format, and also helps people learn more about them uh, rather than just through going looking for their projects. And another thing about Runway that you probably won't hear anywhere else is that they're aggressively recruiting right now because they're a new startup, and because they partnered with us here at CSES, um, there will be aggressively recruiting for the summer from CSES. So if you're a part of this team that drives up your and do good work, that drives up your chances a lot.
So you mentioned a lot of these projects, and I'm sure there will be people watching who would be interested in joining these projects, but there might also be people who feel that it's out of reach, who feel that they may not have the skills yet. So, like, what kinds of skills are you looking for people to join Dev?
That's a good question. And I guess there's like three skills that we really want to see, and then there's a fourth that is more of a tiebreaker. But the first three are commitment and dedication, interest to work, and the ability to work 5+ hours a week. I'm sure a lot of other communities also ask for these things, but we here at CSES essentially want to constrict the pool so that these are the things that mainly matter. So we want commitment and dedication because we have real clients. We have to get the project to them by the end of the year. So we just can't have people that aren't dedicated, just like they don't have time or they just don't want to do the work. They just not it just won't work for us because we have a client that is waiting for the project that trusted us at the end of the year. Interest to work because if you don't have the interest to work, your work quality is probably going to suffer, or at least the work quality of your total team is going to suffer because you're not going to be going to bondings, you're not going to be going to socials, and you probably won't be meeting the clients either. And if you don't want to be here, then it's better for both parties for you not to be here. And lastly, for the ability to work 5+ hours a week, even if you have the commitment and interest, as I mentioned before, we need the projects done by the end of the year. So if you're not able to put in the work, unfortunately, um, it's, like it's not us, but like for our clients, we unfortunately do have to let you go. Lastly, as a tiebreaker, if you're on the fence about all three of these, because again, we have real projects, we also look at your resume and past experience with things like React and other Sweet platforms. So I recommend practicing that and practicing your technical interview skills. But this is meant to be used as a tiebreaker just because we, again, have clients and want to give them the best product possible rather than the a meh product from people that really care.
And that fourth tiebreaker kind of brings me on to my next question, which is kind of some more detail of like what kind of tech stacks do a lot of these dev projects use? Is there a standard one across all of them? Does it depend on the project? Can you give me some details about that?
Yeah, for sure. So Dev, it's a pretty cliche answer, but it's based on the project. But I can tell you how we decide um, which project needs to be on which stack. First, the first question we ask is, would a website or app be better? If a website would be better, then there's certain stacks you can choose. And if an app is going to be better, there's a slightly different, though it is usually in the modern day pretty similar between the two of them. Another question we ask is, would having one stack make the app faster because its internal components, although they're a bit harder to navigate or they have less features, they're enough for us because we want that speed and the project isn't as demanding as other projects would be. And lastly, we look at which tools are the easiest to navigate. And in my experience, I have a recent example of this, which was Supabase, which is like a database management platform. And Supabase is a lot easier to integrate with Git and React. So for projects that we're going to be building at Dev, even though it's probably a bit less known or like helpful than Neon, which was the other one we're considering, but we were on a time crunch and it was just a lot easier to set up Supabase than it was Neon for us. So that's the one we ended up opting for. But I also want to give you an answer that tells you what you want to practice in case you're interested in being a part. And it's just gonna come back. It's gonna come down to usually just learning the Merge stack, or other React and Next.js based stacks that are just very widely used. So it won't just be useful for dev, but also for your future endeavors in software engineering. So I would say I would really recommend those because we usually end up using most of the time we end up using stacks based on React and Next. Um, and it's also very widely used in industry.
I wanted to end this with a bit more of a personal question, but also like an advice question. So, do you have like one strategy or tip that you have used to land an internship that you can give to someone?
Yeah, for sure. One strategy or tip, I guess I'll go into the one that I think a lot of people tend to overlook or tend to talk about, just they don't have, I don't think they fully understand the power of it, which is networking. Networking is something that you can use to find references, explore all opportunities, and then also like get work from places you've probably never even thought you could get work from. Like a lot of people talk about networking and learning to know people, but I feel like they think it's for the future, like in the job. When you have a job, you're going to talk about the time in college where you guys got lunch together or something. That is networking, but what I want to talk about is like networking where you can use right now. There you probably have friends from around UCSD that are participating in startups that nobody else knows about, that are probably looking for more people. And I was part of such a startup for my first internship as well. And I just given up hope because I had tried lead coding and I was just late in the interviewing game. But at the end of the day, I was able to talk to multiple people and eventually find a startup that still needed help. And I was able to join, and that's how I got my first real world experience.
Well, thank you for being here. I hope you had a good time. Do you have any last things to add?
But yeah, there are a few things I want to touch up on because when I was joining Dev, I was very worried if I was going to get in or not. And also, um, I also wanted a bit more clarity on what I could do if I couldn't get in. So for that reason, I also want to talk about one other program we have here at CSES, which is the cohorts program. And for the cohorts program, let's say you're a first year or someone with very little experience, you don't know if you're going to be, you're not confident in your skills right now, um, and don't know if you're going to be up for a full sprint-based cycle like CSES Dev is going to have, or Innovate's going to have with their intense research, or open source is going to have for all of their projects. But you still want to be a part of it and want to learn the skills so you can apply them next year, then I would strongly suggest you to join the cohorts program at CSES. And the cohorts program is essentially a program for budding developers that don't have experience. And we're going to go through multiple workshops. And at the end of the year, for like spring quarter, we will give you a project as well that you can undertake with your fellow cohort members to build and realize that project. So it'll essentially be for your learning for fall and winter quarter, where you'll be learning about dev, open source, or innovate, and how we operate and how research open source computing or web dev works. And then in spring, you will be able to use those learnings to complete a project, and next year get a project spot as well if you've done well.
Great. That sounds like an amazing program for people to join. Well, thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me.